What's up guys, it's Tommy here and welcome to a brand new football news video, and in this video the main topic will be Manchester City's potential Champions League ban because of a financial fair play, rule breaking or irregularities, whatever you want to call it. So let me know if Manchester City is found guilty, what would be the correct punishment for the breaches that they had. And just remember, AC Milan just last week was banned from participating from next season's Europa League. They finished in 5th place in the Serie A, AC Milan, who are actually 7 times Champions League winners. So they are on paper like the second biggest club in Europe in terms of Champions League victories, but they will play no part in Europe next season because of financial fair play irregularities. So Manchester City could have a similar ban or an even longer ban. City of course deny any wrongdoing, but in this video I have a financial football expert who has a very interesting in-depth look at the Manchester City situation, and I wanted to inform you guys on this topic because I think it impacts also the Premier League massively next season and the Champions League. Of course, Man City will be one of the favorites in the Champions League. They just smashed their transfer record, probably signing Rodri from Atletico Madrid, paying his release clause, which is rumored to be around 70 million pounds. So Manchester City again paying incredible amounts of money for players, and they just act like the financial fair play doesn't really exist. So now let's talk about it. So the football finance expert is Kieran Maguire, and this is what he said about Manchester City. UEFA is questioning the legitimacy of some of the transactions in respect of financial fair play when it comes to Manchester City, who are being investigated by UEFA, by the English FA, and also by FIFA as well. And he continues, and to give an explanation as to how financial fair play works, it's based on achieving a certain level of profit or minimizing your level of losses. It's revenue less costs. Criticism that is being leveled at Manchester City is that perhaps their revenues have been inflated to a certain extent, and if you take a look at the numbers, Manchester United have got 276 million worth of commercial income, Liverpool have got 154 million pounds of commercial income, but Manchester City have 232 million pounds of commercial income. Don't tell me that that's a real number. I can't believe that Manchester City would have a higher commercial value and commercial revenue than Liverpool, who just won the Champions League. I don't think that's accurate. I think that's their owners, who are also the owner of the Etihad Airlines, who are the main sponsor of Manchester City, artificially inflating their sponsorship deals and their commercial deals so Manchester City can circumvent the financial fair play regulations. I mean, Manchester City can't even fill out their stadium for most of their games. They always have a couple of hundred, sometimes even a couple of thousand seats empty in their stadium. So this commercial income of 232 million pounds, this is just my opinion, seems very excessive, and it doesn't seem real. It seems artificially inflated, increased. I mean, don't tell me that they have a much bigger commercial income than Liverpool, and also they are almost on the same level as Manchester United, who built their commercial income for the past 20 years on incredible success, winning 13 Premier League titles. I mean, that's just my opinion, but let's continue with this interview. So the financial football expert continues, I'm fortunate enough to have a job where the university sends me around the world on conferences, and I also give talks on football finance, and when I travel I see kids in Liverpool shirts, Manchester United shirts and Chelsea shirts, but I don't see many in Manchester City shirts because Manchester City are a relatively new addition to the Galacticos of football, to the Giants football. And of course it takes generations to develop the worldwide appeal that gets passed down from parents to children who inherit the love for an individual club. And that's not a criticism of Manchester City, no more than it's a criticism of Everton or other clubs who are in equal situations, but they don't have the gravitas of a Manchester United. Everybody can point to 1999 when they beat Bayern Munich to win the treble. It was a great achievement. Whether you load them or not, it was a spectacular achievement, and it helped a generation of new fans join in with them. Liverpool have got that gravitas too, going back to the 80s and before that under Shankly, Paisley, Kenny Dalglish. That was beginning to drift, but Jurgen Klopp has reversed that. So in terms of Manchester City, they play great football, but the magic element, the Disneyfication of the club, if you like, doesn't exist in the same way as it does with Man United and Liverpool, and to a certain extent Arsenal and Chelsea. Manchester City's commercial income looks top heavy. How can you do that? Well, the accusation is that Man City have signed deals with friends of partners of the club owner who have paid inflated prices. Whether that's true or not, that's for UEFA to decide. So just let me explain that. That means that in real life, with Manchester City's appeal and Manchester City's number of fans, a certain commercial deal would be worth, like, just use a number, £10 million. But because that company is friends with the Man City owners, they pay like £30 million for the same deal that they would pay for another club with the same like fan base, same size of fan base, same size of the club, like Manchester City. A different club, they would only pay 10 million, but because they are friends with the owner, they pay 30 million. And that's illegal. You are not allowed to do that. Financial fair play rules prohibit that, and that's why AC Milan got banned from Europe. So on paper, Manchester City should get a ban as well, but we shall wait and see what this UEFA investigation will find. And the financial football expert continues. The other issue in respect of Man City, I said to you that profits are revenue less costs. Is it possible to suppress costs? If you take a look at Man City, they are owned by something called the City Football Group, who also own clubs in Uruguay, Australia, New York. They've got a part share in a club in Spain, and they are looking at clubs in Asia as well. What you can do is shift some of the costs. I'm not saying it has taken place, but the people who are critics of Man City are saying what they are doing is shifting costs incurred by Manchester City towards some of these other clubs that don't count towards Manchester City's financial fair play situation. And I think the third area where Man City are being criticized, and which a lot of people would actually say is a really smart thing to do, is that the guy who wrote the financial fair play rules for UEFA was headhunted by Manchester City, and he is now their finance director. In any other business, you would think that was a really smart thing to do, but in football, because there's always finger pointing and whataboutery, it means there are criticisms of the club. Whether that's true or not, that's not for me to say. So this is the take of the football finance expert. Manchester City have been punished before for breaching financial fair play rules. In 2014, Man City were fined 49 million by UEFA, 32 million of which was suspended, and they were forced to reduce the size of their Champions League squad from 25 to 21 players. So that's not really a big punishment, considering that the Man City owners are worth billions. Yes, I said that right, billions of pounds. So to fine them 49 million is like fining an average guy like 10 pounds. It doesn't really register for them. It doesn't really have an impact. And Man City just kept doing what they have been doing since then. And the football finance expert continued, and I quote, "The noises coming out of UEFA have been pretty serious, with a view to a potential 12-month ban from the Champions League. If that is the case, that's very unlikely for the 2019-20 season, because first of all, Manchester City will appeal, and that appeal process will take time, and also the Champions League is starting soon, and Man City can legitimately claim their recruitments and budgets for the 19-20 season are from being Champions League participants. City will have made around 80 million from their progress in the Champions League last season, and you can't just snap your fingers and say you are not getting that money anymore. If a decision is made, I think we are looking at 2020-21, and my understanding is Man City will fight tooth and nail to protect their name, which you can understand. So expect some heavy duty lawyers and prices involved in defending Man City, and I think it will go to the UEFA committee, which is normally governed by 3 people with legal backgrounds, and then potentially it would go to the Court of Arbitration for Sport for a final decision. But City will fight any proposals by UEFA to prevent them from participating, and that's what the AC Milan has done, because AC Milan got a ban, they appealed, they went to the Court of Arbitration for Sport, and ultimately that was the final, like the highest court that rules in this case, and they said AC Milan should be banned from Europe. So we could, in a theory, we could expect the same process for Manchester City. So it's realistic that they will not be banned from this season's Champions League that is coming up, but the season after that. And it's a shame, because if they were banned from this season's Champions League, that would really have a big impact on Manchester City and Man City's finances. But I think they can more than prepare for the ban 1 year later, because they can sign more players, and I think the just punishment would be at least 1 year ban from the Champions League, and also a transfer ban of some sort. I mean, Chelsea got a 2 transfer window ban for signing a lot of young players, which was against the rules. I think Man City's offenses or rule breaking is a much more severe issue, and I think that should also result in a transfer ban. I think that's the only way that Man City will be truly impacted. And the big question is, would Guardiola stay if Man City got a transfer ban and a Champions League ban? I think if Man City got a Champions League ban and no transfer ban, Guardiola would stay, because he would just try to win the Premier League and win all the other competitions, and it would be actually even easier for Guardiola to try and win all the competitions except the Champions League, because one less competition to worry about, and Man City already have an incredibly strong squad. But Guardiola could also have second thoughts, and Guardiola himself said that he thinks a manager has a cycle of 3 years, and this will be his 3rd year or 4th year, I think, at Manchester City as manager. Yes, 4th year. So maybe in 1 or 2 years Guardiola will leave Manchester City, and I think that will be the time where Man City will decline a little bit. Until then, I see Man City getting close to 100 points every season, because their squad is just so incredibly ridiculous that they can even afford to have Kevin De Bruyne injured for almost the whole season, and they can still get to 98 points. That shows that Man City probably have the strongest squad in the world right now. If you look at their whole squad, not just their starting 11, but every single player in their squad and what they can call upon, it's huge. And now they are signing Rodri, the Atletico Madrid defensive midfielder, who is the Fernandinho replacement, because Fernandinho is like 35 years old, so he can't really play every game, and Rodri is a perfect signing for Manchester City, and that makes them even more strong, even more frightening. And it's just, I think, a worry for Premier League fans, not just for Liverpool fans, but fans of other Premier League clubs. Because if the Premier League turns into a one-team league, meaning that Man City win 5, 6, 7 Premier League titles in a row, that will become very, very boring indeed, in my opinion. Liverpool at the moment are the only side realistically who can challenge Manchester City next season, but I really hope that Tottenham get their act together, and even maybe Chelsea as well, or Man United, to mount a title challenge. But next season, I don't expect that to happen. Maybe Tottenham will be closer to the title, but I don't expect them to get to 90 plus points. And frankly, if somebody wants to beat Manchester City, they need to get to at least 95 points, but even 97 points was not enough. Let's actually take a look at what kind of punishment Manchester City could get, as Christopher Flanagan, the managing director of the International Sports Law Journal, points out, and I quote, "The rules say that clubs can be punished by way of disqualification from competitions in progress and or exclusion from future competitions. So City could be disqualified from this season's Champions League that is about to start, or one more future UEFA competitions should they qualify. In general, punishments needs to be proportionate to the offense committed and in equal treatment to others in similar circumstances." So this is where the AC Milan ban comes in. AC Milan got banned from one season in the Europa League. So Man City could have the same punishment, one season ban from the Champions League because of similar financial fair play offenses. The issue Manchester City face is that the particular allegations they face are quite different from the financial fair play matters on which UEFA has adjudicated before. So it's a very interesting scenario, and I think this will go to the highest court, which is the Court of Arbitration for Sport. City must be very careful to avoid breaking the Premier League financial fair play rules, because the Premier League has a different set of financial fair play rules. They are more lenient than UEFA's rules, allowing clubs to lose up to £100 million over the course of 3 seasons under their profit and sustainability rules, although they also pose limits on how much a team can increase their wage budget by each campaign. But City would have to think twice about spending about a spending splurge if they were considering a return to European competition at the first possible opportunity. He said, and I quote, there would not be a need to comply with UEFA financial fair play obligations if you weren't going to compete in UEFA competitions. However, this would probably be quite short-sighted, as FFP is assessed on a 3-year rolling basis, meaning that you can't simply drop out for one season, spend a significant amount, and then come back in the next year without worrying about the impact. The longitudinal nature of FFP assessments mean that in order to get a short-term boost outside of UEFA's regulations, a club would need to commit several seasons outside of European competitions. And I don't think Manchester City would want to do that. I don't think Man City would want to not play in the Champions League for 2 or 3 seasons just that they can spend an incredible amount of money, because they already have an incredible squad. So there is not really a need to spend like 200-300 million pounds in one transfer window. But that's just my opinion, and also I wanted to give you all the in-depth information that I could find about this situation. So I really hope that you found this informative, entertaining and enjoyable to watch. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a nice day. See you later. Goodbye.